Singapore has ranked #1 in math internationally for 3 decades. But what does that really mean? What are Singaporean students doing so much better than the rest of the world? Hi, I'm Wency and welcome to the last episode of my mini-series on Singapore math. I'm an expert on Singapore math because I grew up in Singapore. I went through 12 full years of Singapore's math education and lived to tell the tale. And now I'm getting my PhD in math education in the US. Today, I'm going to talk about the two famous international education assessments, TIMSS and PISA. I'll explain what they are, what the tests look like, and what areas Singaporean students perform so well in. So let's dig in. TIMSS is an acronym for Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study. It is an international comparative assessment of student achievement in mathematics and science, conducted by the IEA. Headquartered in the Netherlands, the IEA is a non-profit, independent, and international partnership of research institutions and agencies to evaluate, understand, and improve education worldwide. Since 1995, TIMSS assesses 4th and 8th graders from more than 60 countries every 4 years. The goal of TIMSS is for participating countries to measure their own education system's effectiveness on a global scale, and to learn from others to improve educational policies. PISA, unfortunately, has nothing to do with this, or this. It is short for the Program for International Student Assessment. PISA is also a worldwide study, but it's conducted by the OECD. Headquartered in France, the OECD is an international organization with 38 member countries, many of which are developed countries with high-income economies. Unlike the IEA that focuses on educational work, the OECD aims to provide insights and best practices in public policies that span different sectors. PISA evaluates education systems in OECD member and non-member countries by assessing 15-year-olds' performance in mathematics, science, and reading every 3 years. Like TIMSS, PISA also aims to help participating countries benchmark their own education systems and improve educational policies. However, unlike TIMSS, PISA provides a more comprehensive assessment of an education system because it includes reading. Let me show you an example math problem from each. Here's an 8th grade math problem from the 2019 TIMSS. And here's the math problem from the 2022 PISA. Fun fact, you can take sample PISA tests on math, science, and reading and other areas on their official website. I've linked the page for you in the description below if you want to check it out. If we look at these two math problems side by side, the TIMSS problem focuses more on evaluating what students have been taught and how well they understand it, whereas the PISA problem focuses much more on how students are applying their knowledge in different contexts. In the 2023 TIMSS, Singaporean students did particularly well in problems that require application and reasoning. Let's go back to the example problem that I just showed. This is an application type of problem, and we happen to have very interesting data on it. Here's what a student needs to know to solve this problem. First, they need to know how to calculate the area of a rectangle. Then they need to be able to solve a 2-step problem. The majority of Singaporean students worked out both steps of this problem and got to the correct answer. 22% of them, which is less than a quarter, stopped after the first step. But 25% of 8th grade students around the world do not carry out the second step of this problem, even though the mathematics is straightforward and the calculation is easy. So what does this tell us? This tells us that Singaporean students are well equipped to figure out the different steps needed to solve the problem and persevere through the entire process. This is the impact of a problem-solving curriculum, which we talked about in last week's episode. Singapore is not an OECD member country, but it's always at the top, if not #1 in the PISA test for reading, science, and math. In the math section of PISA 2022, 92% of Singapore students, compared to an OECD average of 69%, can interpret and represent a simple situation mathematically without any direct instructions. An example problem at this level will be comparing 2 different routes on a map, which one covers more distance or which one takes a longer time to complete. Where Singapore students really shine is at the advanced levels of math. 41% of Singapore students, compared to an OECD average of 9%, can model complex situations mathematically and can use appropriate problem-solving strategies to deal with them. For example, they can compare 2 different functions and determine which one has a higher rate of growth and explain why based on the given formulas. To do well in the math section of PISA, students have to exhibit strong application, critical thinking, and communication skills because they're required to justify or explain their answers in various problems. An honorary mention of what Singapore performs well in PISA is in the creative thinking domain. Singapore is actually the highest performing education system in creative thinking, with a score of 41 points on average, which is significantly above the OECD average of 33 points. Here's an example of a creative thinking problem in PISA 2022. Students were tasked to create an original science fair poster for the theme Live in Deep Space, with simple design tools like shapes and lines and some stamps. Ranking number 1 in math in TIMSS and PISA isn't just about calculating and understanding mathematical concepts. Based on some of the examples I've shown in this video, we can see that these assessments emphasize heavily on application skills, and they evaluate how students work through problems they've never seen before. Singapore's math curriculum isn't simply a policy document or textbooks that teachers have to go through in class. It is evidence that when a research-based curriculum with a clear goal is implemented systematically and effectively, students stand to gain all the benefits that mathematics has to offer. We've covered the key features and approaches of Singapore's math curriculum in detail over the last couple of videos. Some of you may not be entirely convinced by Singapore's approach, whether it be the bar models or the curriculum framework, and that's okay. My hope is that we use Singapore as an example and reimagine math education together. We need to think about what we want the goal of math education to be, and redefine what it really means to be good at math. If you want to learn more about my Singapore math experience, you can buy my book from the link below. Curious about how to teach with Singapore's approach or how to help your child with Singapore math? Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned.